harsh words came out. And so, still not turning his face, with its long aquiline nose, huge blue-green eyes, and those full pink lips I was delirious to call mine when we were first married, he said, simple as pie, "I'm done." Then he sighed again, and turned slowly to look at me with a flat, empty gaze. "I'm done with this," he said, gesturing with his hand to encompass our living room, our kitchen, our home, our son, our future, our dreams, every single memory we'd ever made together in our 13 years as a couple, and me, suddenly meaningless me. I felt my face go slack in shock as my vision narrowed to a tunnel centered on Chris's blank face, and everything else went dark. Done, just like that. From the day Chris made this pronouncement, I felt my whole life click into slow motion as the last moments of my marriage started to slip through the hourglass. Suddenly there was a time bomb ticking loudly in the middle of the house, threatening to smash my life, my family, my security, my entire identity, into unrecognizable bits. I entered a kind of split-screen crisis mode, shuttling between a panicked search for solutions and the velvety comfort of hiding in denial as I tried to figure out how to defuse the bomb. My mind became a Japanese tea house, orderly, quiet, with delicate sliding shoji screens to separate my conflicting needs, to make it possible for me to keep on keeping on when it seemed that my husband had just brought everything in our life to a dead stop. As I started to ponder the impossible whys of how he and I had found ourselves here, and the impossible questions of how I would begin again, I slid open and shut the shoji screens in my mind to hide or reveal, a little at a time, what I was feeling, the anger, the fear, the bottomless grief, so that I could keep myself from being overwhelmed by my emotions. In a hush, I tiptoed around Chris, and I tiptoed around myself, afraid to glimpse my reflection in the mirror and see the fear in my eyes. This talk of divorce was coming at a spectacularly bad time. I was the primary breadwinner in our family, and I had recently been fired from a job I loved. Chris and I were still learning how to be parents. Our cherubic son was still an infant. We owned this lovely but needy house and the big mortgage that went along with it. And I was interviewing for a big new job, the job of my dreams, taking the helm of Redbook, a huge national magazine that was all about women living their grown-up lives, and in no small part their married lives. The irony was as rich as buttercream frosting on a wedding cake. In the end, I got the job, but I lost the guy. The life we'd built together over 13 years began disassembling itself without my permission, as Chris and I started the slow, hard work of breaking up. Then our house began falling apart too, revealing breaches in the foundation and the roof that the house inspector, my husband, and I had all missed before Chris and I bought it. And we would find out later that the couple who sold us the house had maybe intended to hide. On my very first day as editor-in-chief of Redbook, torrents of water poured into the basement of the house. And the floods continued as September hurricane rains worked their way up the coast and pounded the northeast, forcing me to undertake a months-long renovation that led to the house's foundation being jackhammered into bits. A few weeks later, the roof and walls of the house started to leak in 3 or 4 or 5 different places, depending on how the wind was blowing. The symbolism of it all was undeniable. Water flooded my house for months, as pain was flooding my life. The foundation of my existence was being rocked, as was the foundation of my house. Water followed me everywhere, and so did the tears. I was running a magazine about love and marriage just when everything I thought I knew about either was being put to the test. And I was reinventing that magazine at the same time that I was going through the incredibly painful process of reinventing myself. And it got worse. I had to fire 2 full-time nannies in a row, and so found myself scrambling to patch together childcare arrangements for Zach. And then there would be a beach house fire and the 2 emergency room visits and all the heartbreaking ways in which my family and friends couldn't give me what I asked for, despite their best intentions, because they had to live their own lives too. I kept my best game face on at work, desperate not to show weakness either to my staff or to upper management as I spearheaded the magazine's transformation. My friends marveled at how I was able to handle the pressure of the big job while I had such a young son. But the job was, in many ways, the easy part, even though it absorbed so much of my concentration and time. I knew that I knew how to run a magazine, and I trusted my skills and instincts at work. But I was just learning how to trust myself as a mother.